I don't remember now why I truly started making the game, but I think it was because I wanted to tell this story, which is a crappy screenplay rejected. And this is kind of my revenge. The game has always been built with modability in mind, and I see the future is mods and perhaps even a community-based driven continuation of the game itself. Every individual has its own life, but I think maybe the player feels that it's real because everything, there's no shortcuts like there could have been.
Welcome to Chaos in the Lobby. I'm Spoony Bard, and with me today is Jake, who has developed the incredible city builder Songs of Six, which has managed to maintain an overwhelmingly positive review score on Steam. So, Jake, welcome.
Thank you.
For those that don't know, Songs of Six is a city builder that is, in my opinion, in a category of its own because it's not just a city builder, it's also a wonderfully deep, grand strategy game with management, and diplomacy, and logistics. But in your own words, how would you describe Songs of Six?
That's a complicated question. I pondered that a lot. I'm not going to go too deep in it, but how would I describe it like a tagline? I would say it's like the tagline says, it's a city-state simulator. That's more or less like what it is. It's a city builder first and foremost, but you build an entire state from your city. So.
I first learned about your game in late 2020, shortly after it concluded a Kickstarter campaign, which raised nearly 300,000 krona, which translate to, I think, roughly 30,000 US dollars. But that's just when you began to focus on the game full time. And if I'm not mistaken, you had already been working on the game for something like 5 years prior to that.
Yeah, something like that, on my spare time. I started like a noob, complete noob. So I think I did my first just rendering engine. It should be about 10 years ago today or something like that. Yeah.
Before you decided to go full time, was your background in game design, or had you been in an entirely
No, not
different
at
field?
all. No, I was into filmmaking actually. I was going to be the next Francis Ford Coppola or something. But then I met my spouse, and so I had to move to Plan B because it wasn't really working out. So I started educating myself as a computer engineer. And as soon as I learned how to code, that I could progress myself, I started making the game engine because I think it was in the era when the indie game scene was pretty big and or on the rise. And I was looking at Kickstarters from other developers, and I wrongly thought that this can't be that hard. I should be able to do this myself. So I attempted that, and here we are 10 years later, and moderate success.
So is this built in its own kind of custom engine, or?
Yes, I'm crazy that way. I want to reinvent every little rivet and wheel I can. So it's all custom based. I don't even use, the standard library that comes with a programming language. I do, however, use Java, which is quite high level and such as that. But that's because while I'm good at coding, pure problem solving in code, I'm really crappy at computers, like administering computers or setting up computers or stuff like that. And Java is really just plug and play code, so to speak. So
yeah. What led you to take the leap, to go full time and try the Kickstarter? Had the game managed to, because I hadn't heard of it prior to 2020, had it gained enough traction that you felt comfortable taking that risk?
No, no, not at all. But I had to know. I was ready to, get a definite answer if it was going to work out or not. And I didn't actually have that much to lose. But it happened just when Corona hit. So I said to my boss, I'm going to, I worked as a programmer at the time. And at the time, it wasn't a big risk to quit your job. You could get another job. So I won't take any credit for that. But Actually, when the Kickstarter was tugging along and it wasn't going that well, it was a 50-50 chance it would manage to reach its goal. My boss called me and said, because of Corona, you have to decide if you're coming back or not. And then I actually took a brave decision to say that I wasn't coming back, and I went all in on the Kickstarter. Does that answer the question?
Absolutely. Yeah, I imagine Dwarf Fortress, Rimworld, Civilization probably all played a degree of inspiration for you. But what other games influence Songs of Six?
Well, I'm pretty old by now, so I think I grew up in a different world from most of my players, and I actually haven't actually found a sole person that wants the game that I want personally. But the thing is that when I grew up, I had games came in, on this in the supermarket, you had a crate with, physical game boxes. So I didn't have a lot of game, and nobody did back then. So I had a couple of games, and a few of them I really liked, and that was Pharaoh, and I've been on and on about Pharaoh all these 10 years, and I don't think anyone feels the way I do. But the thing about Pharaoh was that it never really, I couldn't really master it. So it's like a continuum of creation, because ultimately you want to find the perfect layout for your city. But I could never do that because I didn't have internet access, where it's clearly stated these days. Actually, I looked it up recently, and so Pharaoh is now dead for me. But the idea was that I wanted a game that didn't end. That there was always something to ponder and improve, and endless creation, so to speak. So Pharaoh, and then I was a big fan of Dungeon Keeper, and you can see some Dungeon Keeper, like maybe some charm from Dungeon Keeper. And then, of course, Total War, which I played to bits.
So did I, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All the installations, but I'm more inclined to like the older Total Wars because it's changed a lot. But it doesn't really matter. But Total War is a great game that I've played to bits, and it's a big inspiration.
Yeah.
Yes.
Your developer updates, which by the way are absolutely fantastic. They're a great window for
Do you
anybody
like the
watching.
sound?
Yeah, I actually think they're great.
This is the same mic, so I guess you'll get the same complaints.
I've never had those complaints. I just like listening
No?
to them, and there's such a great window into game development because I like how you kind of go over not just like what you're doing, but kind of a little bit of how you've done it. And like you said, with it being a custom engine, it's just fascinating to watch. But in one of those updates, you mentioned that a lot of city builders kind of have a plateau where once you're big enough, there's just nothing you can't do. You can redesign your city without, much complication. You can just build whatever you want. And you've had
Yeah.
the goal in Songs of Six of being different in that the game scales in difficulty with your population.
Yeah.
How is that something you've managed to accomplish?
You mean technically, or
Both.
I guess. Well, yeah, you're absolutely right. That's the problem I have with all games like this, is that the inverse, I call it inverse difficulty. Like it's at its hardest at the beginning, and then you kind of reach a overpower momentum, and then you can do whatever you want. And when I reach that momentum in other games, I get bored. So I didn't want to get bored. So what I've done is that I've flipped that around, and that it has turned out to be very difficult. But basically, I have an easy start and then an impossible end. And technically, that's just a lot of pieces coming together. Every system is tuned to, well, as you know, Songs of Six is it has been very different from the beginning. A lot of, controversial systems like maintenance and stuff like that. So, well, the trick is to trick the player. It's basically, at its core, it's an endless, no, an idle clicker. Have you played an idle clicker before? It's you think you're doing something nice by upgrading something, but all the prices in the background goes up. So I've been trying to do that basically for the game. It's a simple thing, but it's very hard, and I think it mimics real life to some point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I also think it's really interesting how the game kind of evolves. Like when you said when you start, I wouldn't say it's easy. I really struggle in the beginning sometimes. Maybe that's just me. But the
No,
game kind of
that's yeah. You should struggle all the time.
yeah,
Yeah.
I do when I'm playing.
Good.
In the end, or in the mid game, really, the game kind of evolves once you start being able to go outside of your city and establish trade routes and start, going to war or just interacting with the factions around you. And in the
Yeah.
beginning, that's not really there. So it's just a really neat way that the game evolves into a grand strategy game almost, where it does
Yeah.
start to take on more of a civilization or total war feeling once your city is bigger. I've seen people get in cities up into the tens of thousands, but is there a
Hmm.
maximum size? Like, could we potentially get cities of 500,000 inhabitants or?
Well, that's been a big question. Theoretically, you could have 100,000 people in the city, but then you won't be able to fast forward, and so the game won't be interesting. So I kind of soft lock the game at 12,000
Okay.
people. That's when I expect. You can't really make. You can make maybe 10 more people each run as you learn new stuff, but that's where the the limit is, the soft limit. Then of course, if someone wants to mod it, they can mod it too. But there's a problem because when it's at one speed, just one times the speed, it's really slow and it's not fun. But it works for some people, but I don't think most people. So
I know that there are a lot of ways, to make things bigger, but some people have asked if there's ever going to be like a Z axis. Are we going to be able to start building vertically? I know that basements kind of exist, but is that something that you plan on exploring? Or I think
no, yeah,
sorry, I was just gonna.
yeah.
I think some people just kind of obviously make the comparison to Dwarf Fortress
Mm, mm,
and that kind of Z axis that appears in that.
yeah. No, I don't personally want a axis, even if I could add one easily, because I think that you want that overview that you only get with 2D, like you know what's going on and you can just scroll. I think putting in another dimension there when scrolling and seeing what's going on is going to be hard on at least my brain. So no, there's not going to be a Z axis officially. No.
You just released the 0.70 update on December 4th, which added some combat mechanics like cavalry to the game. But do you mind sharing a little bit more about what's in that new update?
Mm, not at all. Uh, Well, the thing is that if you're already playing Songs of Six, if you played the previous version, and you're enjoying the city building aspect of it, there's not a lot new stuff, and I feel kind of bad about that. But I have been mostly this update has been about fine-tuning battles, remaking everything, making people divisions walk the way they should and to places that they should. And that's what I'm doing now. That's why I'm not all here yet. I'm trying to wind down because the divisions keep bouncing off each other, and I have no idea why. And that takes a week to do. So there's just been a lot of effort put in this time to stuff that people will probably never notice, but hopefully they will feel it when they are playing battles, because ultimately battles are part of Songs of Six. It's not the main feature, but it's part of Songs of Six, and if those play out better, it's going to be a better game. That's what I'm thinking. And I really dread the times that I have to jump into this code, because it's very separate from the main game, and I don't really know how it works. It takes a long time to get into, and this is the third time I have jumped back into that abyss of despair. And hopefully the last time as well. And I've said that every time, that this is the last time I'm ever going to touch that code. But what I've done is that I've added some goodies, of course, for the city builder, but it's not like a full-blown DLC. But I've added quick battles, so you can basically play the game like a Total War game if you enjoyed quick battles. I personally don't, but so that's a new game mode, and then you have everything has been rebalanced in regards to combat. They fight completely differently, and the aim has been to, again, something that probably only I know what I mean. There was once a mod for Rome Total War, the original Rome Total War, which was called Rome Total Realism. And I can't find it anymore. But that basically turned Total War battles into something completely different. And it was an incredible experience to play that game. It's probably where I sunk the most hours into. And it's hard to describe what it is, but it's more focused on tactics rather than rock, paper, scissors. That's very common in modern Total War. So it's about outflanking the enemy, basically. So I'm hoping to capture that, but I don't think I do. But I do capture something else. I'm not pretty sure what it is right now, but we'll see. And I hope it's better than before. But other from that, we have for some of you, it's basically when you feel you've stagnated, you can choose to resettle, and then you'll keep your level, so you'll get a lot of innovation and knowledge for free as you start the new game. So you can, and you get some resources as well from your previous city, so you can start building a new city, and hopefully you'll get further, and you can continue doing this until you get to 12,000 people, which I hope everyone does eventually. And then there's some changes to just some fixes, minor fixes, and what else is there? There's I don't know. I should check my notes, but it's on the other PC.
No worries. With this update, I know that you said you're not too far off from your 1.0 update, but is there other features that you plan to implement before you get to 1.0?
Oh yes, oh yes. That's the story. The story has been like this for years now, and is that, I'm getting close to 1.0 and just have this patch to go. And then as I do the patch, it just, a lot of things become evident that this is not working and this is not the way I want it. And I get ideas, I can do this better this way and stuff like that. So there's going to be another patch, version 71, and it's going to focus on slaves, mostly. I think slaves have had it too good in Songs of Six for a very long time. And I woke up one night and I couldn't stand it anymore. So that's I'm going to work on that, and it's going to have some other things in it, as like family relations, like kin, and new trade system, of course, the 15th iteration of the trade system, and the changes to the tech tree. I think that's most of it. Oh, there's going to be proper zoning. So instead of having these work priorities, which are very complicated, and now I've added something on top, which is kind of like zoning. You can put races where you want them. Species, I should say species. But I'm going to fix that so that it becomes one intuitive, easy to use system, and you can put your people where you want them in the city. That's a lot of people have asked for that. I'm going to focus a lot more on what other players want rather than what I want, because I'm pretty satisfied. But I'm starting to understand other views about the game, so I'm going to work a bit on that, and it won't take away from my vision at all. So that's good.
Speaking of the features that you want versus what other people want, are there any features that you really wished you could have implemented that maybe just didn't turn out to be possible, or just you didn't have time to explore them?
Yes, of course. Yes. I can tell you funny. It's not funny, but it's a little bit funny. when I started making the game. Okay, and I think this many developers can feel this way as well. I started the game and I started with animals, so I added the animals, and my idea was that, of course, animals, they should work like in real life. So I started adding DNA to animals, and the way to domesticate them was through selective breeding and stuff like that. So I worked on that for 6 months, and then I kind of realized that, you're not making a game about animal breeding. So if you want to make it this lifetime, you need to compromise. So of course I've compromised, but not I'm very happy with what I have. I don't feel like I missed out on anything. It's just recently, when I have so many players playing the game now, it's been like growing really well now for the past year, especially thanks to a YouTuber that really grew the game. And that sometimes I'm thinking like, I really want it to be this way, but if I make it this way, I'm going to get, decapitated and dragged in the street by the players. And that's understandable. I understand my players. We're just on opposite ends of, the what do you call it? Yeah, you get what I mean.
Yeah.
So I can understand. I hate change myself. I really do. Every time my Windows machine updates, I scream out loud. And
yeah, I do too.
I don't like updates. I don't like change. But that's the way I have to make this game without having made changes. It reiterated every system in the game for maybe 10, 15 times. And often I've, ended up with the first iteration because that was the best one. So unfortunately, I can only try things and see if they work, because I don't have the answers, because I have never made Songs of Six before, a game like Songs of Six. So yes, no, I don't feel like I've left anything out, but I do feel like recently that I cannot do what I want to, because in smaller details, like I can't increase the price of this because it will be an outrage. There will be an outrage, or I can't force people to do this because they don't want to do this and stuff like that. Yeah.
Do you see any new races being added as we do get closer to our species, as you said, as we do get closer to the 1.0 release? I know there's been a couple introduced since the game first hit early access, but do you have plans to introduce any more?
No, I don't, but I do have plans, and not prior to 1.0, but I do have plans to expand the existing ones. I don't think they have been given justice yet. So I want to expand each one. I want to make them truly unique and have some custom buildings for them, unique buildings and unique behavior and stuff like that. They do have some now, but I want more of that. And I want every species to have a campaign, single player campaign, where you can dig into their lore and explore them properly. And then when I've done that, there might be more races, but as species. But as of now, no.
I do really enjoy the lore that has been added, and especially with the Dondorians, I've always imagined them as kind of akin to dwarfs. But I was recently kind of reading up on the lore and found that the Dondorians are actually much larger than humans. Instead of
really?
That's what somebody said, and I was wondering if that's just headcanon or if that's how you envision them as well.
No, Dondorians are knockoff Tolkien dwarves, I'd say. Yeah.
Okay.
Sadly, sorry to disappoint, but yeah, they are. But of course, they're not a one-to-one ripoff. They have some special quirks, like they skinny dip. I don't think that they do that in Lord of the Rings. But yeah, they are the dwarves, the mountain dwellers.
All right. So did you write the lore as well, or is that something that you kind of had some assistance with, or?
No, I did write the lore myself, what little there is, and that's something I'm really looking forward to do more of, as I I'm not pressured into fixing divisions bouncing off each other. I'm really looking forward to that, and I got a really nice outline. Even before I started making the game, I had a really nice outline full of twists, and it's a rich story. I don't have the story for each race laid out, but I really enjoyed making there's the Crotonian campaign, for instance, and that I've kind of figured out that there's a tome of history for Songs of Six, and it's written by a specific historian. And I have snippets out of it, and you can see it in the load screens. You can also see snippets from the Bible, the creation myth of Songs of Six. So it's all there, and I'd really like to add more of it and finish the work, because I don't remember now why I truly started making the game, but I think it was because I wanted to tell this story, which is a crappy screenplay rejected. And this is kind of my revenge.
I love that.
Yeah.
The music and the artwork is also just, in my opinion, great. Did you compose the music? Did you do the artwork, or is the entire project start to finish just completely solo?
No, not at all. The music is made by a woman called Jasinka, I think it's pronounced, and she's just amazing. She's like a prodigy. That she plays all the instruments by herself. It's analog music to start with, which I wanted. And I wanted something gritty and historic. So she plays a lot of key harp, which is a Swedish instrument, and a lot of cello and violin, and of course she sings as well. She has a nice voice. So she's in charge of the music. I have put down a few melodies for her, but it's barely worth mentioning. And then the artwork it's a mixed bag, in game. Yes, sure. I made most of the in-game stuff, but it's basically just 4 pixels that in different colors, and then the engine does cool stuff to it, so it kind of looks ugly but pretty at the same time. And then I've had this guy called Castor on the Discord. I'm not going to disclose his real name. I'm not sure he wants that or didn't prepare for that. But he's done a lot of the icons and artwork surrounding the game. And we can say that together we did the mural work for the menu. That's something I've been working on since the game started, and I haven't gotten it right until now, 10 years later. And I'm very happy with the style. So no, and of course the sound effects, what little sound effects there are, I've stolen that from some open source site. Can't credit anyone in particular. And then of course, the game contains 10% of my ideas and 90% of the community's ideas, who have helped me tremendously throughout these 10 years and done great things.
What's your favorite feature that has come from the community that maybe you hadn't considered when you started developing?
Good question. I'm not sure I can answer that well. It's just many small things. I mean, personal houses. I was against that for a very long time. We had dormitories where everyone slept, and there are still those who preferred my dormitories, I think, at least. But and I preferred my dormitories, but I swapped to houses, kind of unenthusiastically. But I think it turned out great with the houses. That's just an example. I'm sure there's a greater example out there, but I
do remember the switch, and I remember
Yeah.
I wouldn't call it drama, but there is definitely a difference in opinion between people who liked the old style and people who like the new style. Yeah. I don't have a strong opinion personally. I think they both work great, but I can see both sides of it. So speaking of doing this solo for the most part, When you say you coded battles and you don't like getting back into that code, is that code you also wrote yourself?
Yes, maybe that's why.
Okay.
No.
As you approach the 1.0 release, you have said that this isn't the end; it starts a new phase for you. What do you mean
Mhm.
by new phase? What does the new phase look like?
Um, well, it's upping my game, so to speak. No, gone are the days when I can just add stuff, push it, and see what people think, then change it along the feedback, or don't change it or whatever. And this is a new standard, and also it's like the game has always been built with modability in mind, and I see the future is mods, and perhaps even a community based driven continuation of the game itself. So 1.0 mainly is so that modders can get to work and actually do stuff without having their work tossed out the window every 3 months, like it's been now. They can actually build something. So there's going to be a lot of polish, of course, because that's the same thing here. If I add polish to stuff, then I can throw that out the window when I change that stuff 3 months later. So it's basically a version that's hands off. It's going to be polished to hell. And the same applies to me. The work I do in polish and such, that is also not thrown out every 3 months as I change the game fundamentally. So yeah, it's going to be about polishing the shit out of the current version, which is 1.0, and then have that hopefully live its own life. And then I'm going to continue in something different, which you can opt into, I guess, as well, and just continue as we've done so far with new stuff. Yeah, so that's the new phase, I guess.
Do you
Yeah,
still have
upping
a,
my game. Hmm?
sorry,
No, I was done. I was done.
do you have a, I know that in some updates you had a tentatively given the window of spring of 2026 for that 1.0.
Mm.
Is that still kind of your target, or are you still working on other features before you're comfortable getting to that?
Oh, well, it's soon spring, isn't it? I don't know. It's November now. No, it's probably not going to be spring. It looks now like it's going to be autumn, but I don't know if there's been some development in Songs of Six, the team. I've teamed up with a guy who's basically he's going to do everything. I'm going to code, and he's going to do everything else, like deciding when 1.0 is going to get released. Um, but I think no, it's probably going to be autumn, and in autumn I might say that it's going to be spring next year and whatnot. But I know that sounds bad, but I've been trying to explain that I think it's only a good thing for everyone. The longer I postpone 1.0, the better. The more you're gonna get, guaranteed for free, because after 1.0, what I do might be a DLC. That's a possibility. I'm not saying that it's going to be like that. So you're going to get more, and you're going to get a more polished 1.0. So I don't think anyone should see that as something negative. Of course, the thing I'm doing is negative, postponing 1.0. But the alternative is, which is very possible, that I simply don't do anything more to the game. I just polish it and release 1.0, as I have said. Then you end up with a inferior product than my 1.0 will be. So yes, of course, if you're waiting for the game to release in 1.0, I can see that you get pissed by that. But there's really no reason to wait for 1.0, except for, I think we're going to raise the price for 1.0 by $5. So that's everything you have to look forward. You should opt in now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I can't recommend Songs of Six enough. As I said before we got started, it is personally my favorite city builder that I've ever
Thank
played.
you.
And for anybody who has played games like Dwarf Fortress, Civilization, Total War, as you said, I can't imagine people playing it and not just absolutely loving the hell out of it. after 1.0, you mentioned that you may go into DLC content. But you said that you're definitely not done with Songs of Six at 1.0, that's like we said before, just the transition into a new phase.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any tentative ideas for what those DLCs? I know I'm kind of putting the cart before the horse
Mm-hmm.
here,
Mm-hmm.
but do you have any ideas for what those might be or what you want to include in a DLC in the future?
Yeah, absolutely. The first couple of DLCs or whatever we call them, if they're the same DLC or whatnot, should they? I think I'm pretty sure it's going to be about this expansion of races that I talked about. So one release might be, here's the Amevia expansion, and it contains port ships and strange Amevia rooms and new behavior and stuff, and then a campaign for the Amevia. So the Amevia is done, and I see that I can do this for all races. I think, just to not make anyone sweat, I don't think that such a DLC in itself is worth paying for, but it's what I want to continue, how I want to continue, just branching, giving the races the love that they deserve. And then, of course, there's the ultimate DLC, which I might or might have not promised is going to be featured in Songs of Six. It's the Necromancer play style, basically a different game where you play as a necromancer, and you instead of the traditional way, you kind of raise the dead and build an army of the dead, and of course you build some kind of city as well, and then you try to just kill the world, because that's part of the story, which is in the rejected script. So that has to go in before the game. I'm considering the game complete, but I don't promise anything. I've never promised anything from Songs of Six, but those are the plans, at least.
I love the idea of the City
Yeah.
of the Dead and trying to spread out. That's a really cool idea.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Thanks.
I know one thing that's been asked about is multiplayer, and
Mm-hmm.
for me, Songs of Six, I don't know that it's personally a multiplayer game, in my view, but I could see how it could fit in. Do you have plans to? I mean, and that adds a whole other layer of complexity. But do you have any plans to add that?
No, I don't have any plans. I do know about the desire, but I honestly, I don't know how that would play out, first thing, and then I don't know anything much about network programming, so I can't say that it's possible or if it's not possible. But I mean, it's something. It all depends. It's not something I'm going to focus on for the foreseeable future. But who knows? Who knows? I'm not opposed to the idea.
Is Songs of Six a game that you find yourself playing yourself in your free time, or is it kind of like, oh, I've been coding this all day, I need a break?
No, it's the latter, I'm afraid. I don't play the game for several reasons, and the first reason is I don't have time. I spend all my time fixing the game or adding stuff. Playing the game, it takes a lot of time, as you all know, probably. So I'm kind of piggybacking out of the fact that a lot of people are playing the game and are helpful, and I just notice more stuff that way, and I can focus more on the code that way. I do think that I should play the game at some point, but also when I do play the game, I just get overwhelmed by anxiety, because I know all the system, what they're doing, and how fragile they are from breaking. And just when I double click something, I kind of hold my breath. That the
You kind of see
electron.
what's happening in the background, and
Yeah. And I've kind of reduced the game to maths by this point as well. So I work a lot in math. Like, is this gonna work? Then I do the math for it. I know the formula by now, so I do that mostly. And it's very frustrating when I get something wrong, which I do get a lot of times. It's a plus instead of a minus somewhere, and I didn't notice, but someone notices, hopefully. And
if you're enjoying this podcast, make sure to subscribe for more. And if you want to support me and my channel, you can do so through Patreon or by joining my channel here on YouTube, where you'll get members-only exclusives like early access to new episodes, members-only videos, and extras. Plus, you'll be helping me focus on getting my next guest and creating new content.
I think the secret in the game, because I think recently I've pondered this a lot, and I think that I'm making a game for myself, and the side effect is what people are playing, actually, because I think maybe why you like it so much is that I don't take shortcuts. For instance, like I notice how people like the caravans moving on the world map, for instance. Like that's not hard. That's not a big thing, but it really adds something to the city builder. Like it feels real, and I've that's sort of like a curse. Instead of, when you build a room, it's a funny thing, because the rooms, you can see how much they produce, the rooms, when you build them, and most people think that this is how it works. The room takes this and multiplies, and then here's the output. But that's not how it works, actually. It works, every individual has its own life, and he walks to the room, and he sees, okay, I need some wood here, so he walks to the wood, which could be anywhere, and he grabs the wood and he returns, and then he thinks, oh, I need to go to the toilet now, so he goes to the toilet, and then he goes back to work, and he hammers his thing, and he produces some furniture. And that's how it works. It's not how the UI presents it. The UI is actually a really complex thing that tries to estimate just what the hell is going on here. But I think maybe the player feels that it's real, because everything, there's no shortcuts like there could have been for the rooms. Everything happens for real. That might be it.
That's fascinating.
Yeah, and I just realized that now, actually. Because I've always wondered, why am I making this so goddamn complicated when it could be so easy?
Yeah, it could be just a room, and then if there's X amount of workers in here, it produces X amount of.
Yeah.
I didn't realize it was, really simulating, even when they're at work, every single thing.
That's the ironic thing, because first it was like that. Then I added the UI, which was a ton of work to get the estimation right. And now everyone thinks that the UI is telling a simplified truth, that's the truth. But I think deep down you feel how everyone is actually living their lives, and all these numbers are not, faked. They are the real numbers, because they are. The fulfillment is the average of everyone's fulfillment, depending on how close they are to a toilet or not. That's pretty cool.
It's very cool.
And it might be why people like it as a city builder. Maybe. I don't know.
I think so. Yeah. I think it shows, maybe kind of in like Gladwell's Blink, you don't necessarily think about why you recognize these differences, but I do think that they just compound, and you do notice that quality, that it's not just numbers pumping out numbers. It is a simulation. And I think that shows. So definitely not work that's going unnoticed.
Nice.
My final question is, once 1.0 is out, do you have plans to bring on anybody else to help develop it, or are you very comfortable continuing to develop by yourself?
No, my dream is having other people do the hard stuff while I sip a martini in the background. I could see myself very much as an Yoda, just sitting in the corner and watching young, ambitious coders.
All right, Jake. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to sit down and speak with me today. I've had a blast talking to you and learning more about it. And Songs of Six, if you haven't already played it, I really encourage you to go and check it out. It's an incredible game.
Likewise. Thank you very much for having me.